Hi, I'm Vivian Wei, CEO of Salesforce Unified Agentforce Platform and also host of AI Heroes and Headache. Every AI hero comes with a headache. This week, I sit down with Amit Shah, former president of 1-800-Flowers and now CEO and founder of InstaLILY AI. He shares a lot about what it's like to go from scaling an iconic brand to founder mode and now coach mode. Join me.
The biggest thing that has been a reframing for me is to welcome a greater rate of failure versus trying to go for reducing that rate, because I think it is highly correlated with my own learning cycles and sort of my own LQ going on.
I love that. That's how I think about it too. You know, you don't fail and learn unless you take the very first step.
Yes.
And we're at such a early beginning. Nobody knows what is the right recipe.
Yeah.
And it's by doing, then you learn, then you get better. It's a virtuous cycle.
And I also think it again requires a mindset shift, because in a culture which is about hyper optimizing and always projecting, like, I'm an Ironman athlete, like I'm like running this, incredible LLM outcome, I don't think people stop to think enough about sort of, but what am I essentially becoming? And I'm very interested in becoming more human versus more superhuman. Because I think that's where the real leadership separates out from the rest.
Yes.
You know?
I love that. See, one of the most important things is like, how do we use AI to elevate our humanity?
Yeah.
And become better versions, the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah. And not necessarily just the most optimized, because I think that's a very boring outcome in life.
Exactly. Oh, I can get to from A to B, like in the most optimized way. Or you know what? There's gonna be some twists and turns, and along the way, I'm gonna have a lot of fun doing it with people I like.
If you look back at our careers, then I certainly tell the team about that some of the best relationship came out of serendipity.
Yes.
That came out of a hallway conversation or going to a partner event and meeting someone and sort of really discovering a lifelong sort of mentorship or lifelong friendship from that, so
meeting you through your Gen Z intern,
exactly,
completely unexpected, right?
Yeah. So when we started building, we were still in sort of GPT-3 era. None of the reasoning models around us, and maybe baby GPT or auto GPT. Early frameworks were out there, right? But you really did not have people who were thinking about how to bring it together and keep on testing and iterating it. So I think, like, obviously as we mature as a team and we work with some of the most sophisticated companies, for example, we work with SRS Distribution, which is now owned by Home Depot. It's a Fortune 10 company, right? Thousands of engineers, and they look at us as sort of at the tip of the spear in sort of driving their agentic output. In fact, a lot of our installations are on top of Salesforce,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Say more about that. What does that look like?
I mean, whether the Commerce Cloud or Service Cloud, we think, and actually on the CRM, we work a lot with distributors. So when we work with their essential CRM, and this is the bet that we took early on, Vivian, that we felt that if you were just going to redo software layer, you are really not building for the AI first world. I'll give you an example of it. What currently happens is you have software and then you have human beings providing the cognitive sort of layer so that work gets done. What we envision as the future is that the work gets done by, whether you call it digital labor, AI agents or what have you, but that cognitive layer needs to own the outcome. And so if you think about human teammates, if you think about AI teammates, it's not about giving them another software to get things done. It should be giving them agency to get the work done autonomously. So we build autonomous sort of what we call AI teammates or AI employees that get the work done end to end. So our motto, our mission is to move away from a software centric world to an execution centric
Yeah,
world.
yeah. But that's so say more about that because if I think about like our AI agents, they take actions essentially,
Sure.
right? And based on the context, on the semantic layer, then they take actions. Whether it's using Flow or
Exactly.
MuleSoft, right? How is when you talk about your application or the AI agents, like how are they different?
I would say it's the level of abstraction is at a level where we are very vertical specific.
Yeah, yeah.
So we think about instead of creating the agent, so
Yeah.
using the studio
Yeah.
or something to
Yeah, yeah,
create the
yeah.
agents,
Yeah, yep.
these agents already come with domain specificity.
I see. Got
So
it.
they can get started on day zero and start adding value on day zero.
Got it.
Versus having to create it, because I think the reality, and I'd be curious to hear your
Yeah,
take
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And I think, by the way, Agent Force is a great product, and certainly, we tell a lot of our customers that if you have the capacity and the
Yeah.
ability to do it, it will get you to that same execution outcome.
Yeah.
But what we find, and that's what I've spent most of my career in, is that specificity matters. That vertical
Industry
knowledge
specific knowledge, right?
matters. And we picked, what we call some of the most legacy industries. If you think about, distribution verticals,
Yep.
especially in physical goods, are
Yep,
trillion
yep,
dollar
yep,
verticals,
yep.
right? And some of our customers have this deep domain
Yes,
knowledge that we
yeah,
call
yeah.
tribal knowledge.
Yep.
So what we want to do is
Yeah.
almost train a cognitive unit
I see.
that is deeply enmeshed in that tribal knowledge, so that you can just plug and play
Right, yeah.
versus having to wait to bring it to life.
Yeah. Then does that require more hands-on, like forward deploy engineers working with the customers
I-
to define what these agents are?
At the beginning, and I think that model is going to become very important, because if you think about when an employee starts, a human employee starts, they go through a process of training where they really understand how work gets done within
Yep.
that environment,
Yep.
right? And I think we'll have to spend sort of an equal amount of cognitive time making sure that the agents come up to speed as well around that.
Yes,
But
exactly.
what we have discovered also over time, like for example with Salesforce integrations, etc., that you can get up and running very, very quickly. The question now is, how do you also train the customers
Yep.
to start trusting the AI agents?
Yep.
Which is much more of a organizational change management
Yes.
than a technology question.
Exactly.
And that's what we are deeply interested in. That not just you provide sort of this AI employees
Yeah.
or AI teammates,
Right.
but how do you really help them manage this change? How do you help them
Exactly.
increase that trust on this, so that you're not monitoring every click, but
Right.
you're actually trusting as you would trust a
Yes.
human teammate to get the work done?
Yep.
And then also provided continuous context.
Yep.
So I don't know if you've seen some of the recent work talks about sort of context rot,
Mm-hmm.
and you have sort of this idea that I'm just going to provide one sort of point of time context to
Mm-hmm.
the agents, but that's not how human employees
That's
work.
right. That's right.
They are continuously learning from the
Yes,
environment. They are
yep,
continuously distilling
Right.
what's usable and not.
Yeah. I have some thoughts about what we need to do to build this as an ecosystem. I saw you have an AI trailblazers
Yeah.
community. Like it's gonna take a tribe.
It's going to take a tribe, no doubt, and I think it's going to take a tribe across the hierarchy, if you will.
Yes.
At the top level, I think at a leadership level,
Right. Yep,
it's
yep,
going
yep.
to take sort of what we are talking about, like both trust.
Right.
How do you set up the process? How do you fund those outcomes?
Yeah.
And how do you persist with it?
Exactly.
But I also think, as we were talking about, I think it's going to take a broad and a bold reframing of what it means to have skills in the modern age. I think far too long we have seen skills as sort of either pedigree driven
Yep.
or driven by sort of what functional knowledge you have,
Yeah.
versus what I think now, and that's something we optimize for.
Yeah.
We think LQ is going to be more important than IQ and EQ, and that's learning quotient. What's your aptitude and
Yeah.
ability to continuously learn? Because I think the point of civilization that we are in,
Yes.
learning has become the most important skill set.
Right.
So
Yep.
how do you motivate people? How
Yeah.
do you provide sort of the internal constructs that accelerates that learning process and increases not just individual LQ,
Yep. Yep.
but the collective LQ of the team. We have an internal process. We have a Slack channel, which is, by the way, another great Salesforce product, where everyone at the end of the day puts down sort of their key learning.
Right. Yep.
So it creates a completely open, symmetric, transparent environment for
Yes.
people to learn from each other.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But you can also, periodically look at, did we become better as a team because these learnings were shared or not, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I think those are the kind of both techniques and
Yep.
sort of leadership outcomes that certainly we as a team are trying
Yeah.
to push hard at. But
Yeah.
I think it's going to become every leader's sort of significant job
Yes.
going forward. And I was a public company board member till last year, and certainly involved at a board level conversations too on a trade organizations and sort of company boards. And I think this is equally being talked about at a board level too, because how do you select the next generation of CEO leaders?
Right.
Do they have the same LQ
Yes.
as a marker
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
that we have just delivered, which is also important quarterly outcomes for
Okay,
the
have
company.
you, so this is the first time I'm hearing about the learning quotient. Fascinated, because if you peel the layers, right, there's many different components. There's, what does it take to create psychological safety at a company? Not
Right.
all companies have it. You
Sure.
can't take it for granted. There's the component of, okay, not only are you curious, how do you embrace change and experimentation? Fail fast.
Sure.
It's something that's more prevalent in the Silicon Valley tech industry than a traditional business that's been around for 200 years.
Sure.
Then what do you do with that type of, especially when you work with large organizations? How do you make the change there,
Yeah.
right? Like, what are your thoughts there? I have my thoughts, but today I am committed to listening.
Okay. I think look, we are all discovering
Yeah.
this in real time.
Yes, yeah.
So I first of all I start with a lot of empathy, because I don't think it is easy for enterprise leaders to deal with this rate of change. I think it's sometimes easier to sit in the valley and say, run fast and break things. But large companies are not built to run fast or to break things. They are built to provide predictable, thoughtful outcomes over time.
Yep.
But I also think, as we were talking about with LQ, that enterprise leaders are starting to put in place not just some of the techniques that are out in the Silicon Valley, but also I think what they are learning from this young generation of leaders, where they want to be less constrained,
Yep.
they want to have faster experimentation,
Yeah.
and they certainly want sort of the incentives to follow the ability to keep learning
Right. Yep.
and to keep building. So I
Yep.
think the future, when I think
Yeah.
about sort of what will really help this change management move forward, is that we have to make space for builders and dreamers at the same time, and not just doers. I think we are surrounded by a world where doing gets rewarded versus
Yeah.
building, which is
Yep.
inherently risky,
Yep.
because some
Yep.
of the things you might build
Yeah.
will only be a scaffolding or might
Yes.
fall down.
Yeah. Yep.
And some of it requires real frontier mentality, that I have to dream before it becomes a possibility as an outcome. So I really think we are in for massive change.
Yeah.
And some of the progressive leaders I meet
Yeah.
are starting to embrace it, no matter the size of the organization. We have another customer called
Yeah.
United Rentals, which is the world's
Yep.
largest
Yep.
equipment rental
Brad
company.
Jacobs' company.
And
He's doing something pretty cool as well.
yeah, although we work with their CTO, who is very progressive, Tony Leopold, and he was just in our office a couple of weeks back, and we were
Yep.
talking about the same thing. Like, how do you bring not just sort of the branches? They have a deep sort of distributed level of branches, so you have frontline workers.
Yeah.
But how do you bring the central office workers? How do you bring the tech team forward
Yeah.
in doing that? And I think at every level, this idea of builders and dreamers
Yeah.
has to be inculcated, has to be celebrated,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
has to
yeah.
be incentivized, because
Yeah.
behavior follows incentive.
Yes, yeah. How do you, then it comes to, what's the incentive system?
Yeah.
Right? All of a sudden, when you define a job, it's much easier to performance manage.
Sure.
Right? How somebody performs. When it's undefined, like what does it mean to be a dreamer and how do you manage that?
Right.
That's a system we'd have to like think through to actually operationalize it.
Yeah, and I would say take a lot of feedback from what we define as AI native employees.
Yeah, yeah.
Your sort of, I would say, the least tenured probably section of your employees,
Yeah.
because I think those that have grown up with AI as a native experience
Yes,
around them and
yeah.
have been building and dreaming
Yeah.
through that,
Yeah.
I think have a lot to teach all of us.
Yes.
I sometimes think that my role as a CEO is more as a coach and an intern, and to be surrounded by people who are sort of exhibiting and thinking about these things on a
Yeah.
daily basis,
Yeah.
and bring that mindset to our customers as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is not just that we are bringing a software layer, or we are bringing AI agents,
Yeah.
or we are bringing the idea of execution,
Yeah.
but we are bringing this mindset
Yes.
along as well.
See, what you just said, right? Hey, you're a coach to your team. It's very different from what the latest like Silicon Valley young founders say.
Sure.
They're like, hey, I set the direction, I'm the founder, everybody does what I tell them to do.
Right.
But really, if I think about the right way of growing a business, it's you want to unleash the potential of everybody in your employee base.
I
You
think it's very right.
hiring the smartest people, top 10, schools. And
I think this whole sort of debate about founder mode and
Yeah.
sort of non-founder mode, and
Yeah.
I've certainly been on both the sides
Right,
of it at
yeah.
scale.
Yeah.
I think misses the point. I think the deeper point is
Yeah.
who is really in sort of the coach mode. Because my feeling is that the next generation of
Yeah.
leaders
Yep.
really want unlocking. They don't want another sort of founder coming and telling them what to
Right.
do,
Yeah.
or they don't want to just do by execution mindset. I think they really want to like build and learn at a very
Yes.
fast pace, and
Yeah.
they're surrounded by this like ambient intelligence layer.
Yes.
So why shouldn't they be performing?
Yep.
Whether it's at a professional level,
Yeah.
at a sort of founder level themselves.
Right. Yep.
One of the questions that we were like debating internally is, I think a lot of founders are motivated by generational wealth. What I'm fundamentally
Yeah.
motivated by is generational ambition. How do we bring together a group of people
Yep.
that we provide so much learning
Yeah.
ability and so much exposure that the next 100 companies come out of InstaLILY employees,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not just InstaLILY, right? So we
Yes.
think a lot about not just the change that we are able to bring to our customers
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
but what is going to happen 10, 20 years down the road around that, and,
Okay.
and investing behind that.
Okay, great. I have three main things I want to talk about. Founder mode versus coach mode.
Okay.
That's what's going to help us go viral because, look, this is controversial. People
Sure.
haven't, it's new. I've not heard that. Literally, I was listening to like founder mode earlier today. Then the motivational aspect, because I think this is what we need to hear about. This is what this generation needs. What drives us? I talked to some of my Wall Street friends. They're driven by, everybody says, I need to make enough to retire. And I was like, okay, then what next? You can retire by the age of 45, then what?
Yeah.
Right? How do you define your happiness in life?
Right.
Clay Christensen wrote that book, right? Like, how will you measure how will you
Yeah.
measure your life? And then the third part is, let's talk about the learning quotient, the organizational culture, right? In Salesforce, we talk about like the values.
Sure.
What do we value? It's trust, it's customer success, innovation, and equality. But how about, how you define that, codify that?
Sure.
When we put words into the system, people understand it, then it's much easier to live it, then you create the value alignment in how people do things, how people build.
Yeah.
Super important. So I think there's a lot to unpack there.
Sure.
That's also going to define like how we work with large enterprises or companies of all sizes, right? Because now leaders, I'm finding some leaders are waking up.
Yeah.
Others are coming to terms. Others haven't acted, which are
Right.
going to have significant consequences. Because, like from my Wall Street days, I just see, S&P 500 index over the past 75 years, companies go in and out of the index, but the pace has been accelerating. Last 2 decades, we had 2%. The
Movement.
next decade, 4% per year,
Yeah.
if not faster, depending on how quickly we build the tools that companies need to transform themselves.
Certainly, our hope
drive
is
growth,
it will go
right?
faster. you know?
Yeah, exactly. And if we have more leaders like you, it's going to be unstoppable. So, okay, and where are you from originally?
I grew up in Calcutta, India.
Calcutta, that's in north?
East Coast.
East.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
My parents actually still live there. you
Okay.
know? Yeah. I just happened to get a scholarship to a small liberal arts college in Maine. So I went to
Where?
Bowdoin.
Oh, right. Okay. I went to Dartmouth.
Okay,
So
that
part
was
of
my
the,
other
liberal
choice.
arts,
Yeah.
Schools, and
Yeah,
so
we had the
suffered
12
in
college
cold.
exchange,
Yes, exactly. We suffered in the coldness.
What about you? Where are you from?
From Shanghai.
Okay.
So I came here for college.
Yeah.
But at the age of 18, I had $2,000 packed in the back of my shirt, right? Got on the plane by myself with 3 large suitcases.
Yeah,
and
very
landed in
similar
Hanover,
story.
New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it gives us a different level of, understanding and cultural intelligence, how we work with people, humility.
And I also think like the ability to adapt and adopt.
Yes,
I
yes.
think those are very important sort of skill sets
Yes.
that I felt very lucky to be experiencing it in real time, because a lot of times what I find is that in a very sort of globalized world, I don't think people still appreciate how much of it is changing. And we are in the middle of this change in technology,
Yes.
but it is still, like, if you think about it, at a very frontier space.
Yeah.
And I think the effects, when you think about how will it roll out to 5 billion people, to 7 billion people, I still feel we are in hour zero of day zero
Yes.
of that outcome.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And I'm very excited by how we as humanity will adapt and adopt
Yes.
to this always on intelligence around us, because we ever had it's like, I remember my first experience of having a cell phone. And suddenly it's like the email is going around with you, like BlackBerry, or like and you're like, wow, this is so mind-blowing.
Yes,
And
yeah.
now you're at a level where it's like that seems so trivial.
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
it had its wow moment, and it had its, like, it went through this whole level of adoption around it.
Yeah, but coming from emerging markets, there are people who still don't have electricity, they don't
Sure.
have internet, and don't even bother with AI. And I think about AI as the biggest economic mobility divider or equalizer. And so now I'm glad, like, with the hyperscalers, they're building more data centers, because only like 35, 40 countries around the world have data center.
Yeah.
So if you think about the sovereignty and policies around data, it's a very different ballgame, right?
Yeah.
That's already on a division at a very
I think this
global
intelligence
level.
equality, like we had sort of these ideas of digital equality, is going to become even more pronounced.
Yes. Yes.
Because I think, like, to your point, it can be a very profound accelerator or
Yes.
a de-accelerator if
Right.
you don't have those access
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
And so, we are very sort of thoughtful and interested in that, because certainly some of the customers that we work with, they are in the trades. And so you have, people who speak maybe 5 different languages. So how do you make sure that your AI agents are multilingual to begin with?
Yes.
so that
Yep.
you know whatever people's natural expressions are don't have to become sort of like dependent on knowing English, for example, as an
Right.
outcome. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think like as we roll out these technologies, I think having that level of sort of thinking process
Yes.
embedded in
Yeah.
how you build
Yep.
is going to be very, very important. You know,
Yeah.
otherwise we're going to have another generation where
Yeah.
sort of the technology leaves another group of people behind.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, it's also a win-win situation because when the agents can speak different languages, I always talk about, okay, now when you do geo expansion, you think about it very differently.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to have a local office so long as we meet the regulatory requirements. And guess what? My agent can capture the demand,
Yeah.
maybe serve some customers, and if it's a fully web bit type business, and speak the language of choice and be trained right away.
I'm super excited about that because I think not just sort of language, but
Yeah.
you know, so much of our essential expressions gets lost when you have all this like kludgy translation, transcription
Right.
as an
Yep.
outcome, right? Like how do we capture that? So that's one of the things that, you know, we are very interested in the idea that voice has become the essential next
Yep.
frontier of capturing context.
Yep. Yep.
And it's not just about bringing the voice and transcribing it into
Yep.
words that
Yep.
you can feed back into the context layer, but even ideas of urgency. You know, when we are in a meeting and we express
Yes.
urgency,
Yes.
that nuance is lost.
Yeah.
So we are very interested in making sure that when we build the multimodal agents, we are
Yeah.
capturing all
Yeah.
of that nuance as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because that, you know, when you tell your teammate, hey, you know, get this done,
Yeah.
you know, there is ways of saying get this done, and it's
Right.
only capturing get this done.
Yep.
But you know, my tone
Yep,
and sort of
my-
my
yep.
urgency is reflected in how I
Yeah.
sort of express that, and how do
You're-
we capture that?
Yeah, you're like taking voice to the next level. How do you capture emotions, the rhythms of,
Exactly.
to reflect it in more in the intelligence and contextual layer that needs to be codified, right? Because
That's what I said. You know, like we are very interested because we have been doing this now for more than 2 years, and certainly very privileged to work with some of the most sophisticated customers.
yeah,
The idea that you know we are not just building a software outcome, we are really building the future of work, and I think that mission really drives us.
yes, yeah,
Because I think that if you think about sort of the next level of productivity unlock,
yeah,
you know, it's not going to, and you know, I'm sure you would agree, it's not going to come by just building better software. I think it's going to come from building better ways of doing work.
yes, yeah,
And that's what we are deeply focused on.
Yeah.
And we think that whether ideas of multimodality
Yeah.
or ideas of building better, more performant, multi-step
Yeah.
outcomes,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and then infusing that with trust
yes.
are going to lead to this acceleration as an outcome.
Yep, I 100% agreed, and I saw it myself with our own internal AI adoption. This is
Sure.
how magical this thing is. Like when you do it the right way, you create more connection and inspiration, creativity, because people are showing
Right.
how amazing they're using, creating the use cases, and I have my AI delight moments every day.
That's great. And we certainly share that. Like, I'll give you an example.
We should probably record. Are we recording it? Okay.
We have a customer called SRS
Yes.
Distribution,
Yeah.
you know, that was just acquired by Home Depot. And now, when we started working with them, we were helping them accelerate their sales with their territory managers. You
Yes.
know? And they have about a couple of thousand territory managers. So we work very closely with the chief AI officer and chief digital officer. His name is Patrick Garcia. And we share sort of that sense of excitement when we see
Yeah.
sort of real commissions going up, because now instead of getting drowned in sort of this noise of dashboards about, you know, trying to understand which customer to call,
Right.
this AI teammates
Yep.
are working overnight
Yep.
preparing a complete brief for them when they walk in to their branch in the morning,
Yes.
and they are like, which customer to call, which
Right.
customer to
Yeah.
upsell, which customer to cross sell, what
Yep.
products to cross sell.
Yep.
And when you see that delight, and certainly when we see that delight, not just in Patrick's face,
Right.
but in the territory managers,
Yes.
in their ability to take care of their contractors better,
Right.
it really brings this to life. Because
Yes.
we can talk all day about sort of AI, LLM model,
Uh-huh.
whether we are in 4.0 or whether we are in O1, O3. But what does that really mean as an outcome?
Yes.
Right? So
Yeah.
I talk a lot about like the idea that we were surrounded by AI,
Uh-huh.
which is 99% about words, but 99% of delight with human beings is around outcomes.
Yes. Yeah.
So this bridge between sort of just talking about things to delivering an outcome
Right.
is something that I think we share as an excitement, and certainly like I think brings to life a lot of what we build.
I love that example because, this is not only creating value for the business, but also it changes people's lives, right? That additional commission could mean the person get to their American dream faster. They can buy their house, put down the deposit. I just love that story of, AI hype is one thing. Every day there's a new LLM, new version. Great, perfect. We definitely need those builders to continue to build. And I think a lot about, there's also this term defined by GH Smart. They're like a CEO advisory firm. It's called AI Shapers. And I think this next wave of AI actually requires a lot more people like you and me. We're AI shapers. We're helping people see the value of AI and how it changes large enterprises, small businesses, create more top line growth, bottom line efficiency, delivering value to their end customers. And you know what? Also our employees' lives get better
Absolutely.
because of it. And I think the other question I have is, there's a lot of layoffs in the market right now.
Right.
When I talk to some of the CIOs, CTOs, they say, hey, we just laid off a lot of people. I don't have time to think about this right now. What do you say to them?
I think it's fundamentally workforce is getting reshaped, but I think it's very short-term thinking. I think we see a world in which we should be helping people reskill themselves.
Yep.
Because I think the ability that now we have
Yep.
to give back people that creativity,
Yep.
which I think is the absolute right frontier for humans to really sort of play out their art and craft.
Yes.
Right? So I
Yeah.
think what a lot of leaders are choosing is to judge people just by skill set versus the future that we see is to have them better mindset.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because skill sets will evolve.
Yep.
But how do you become a great champion, a great coach
Yep.
of a better mindset? And I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of leaders are investing or really catalyzing those outcomes.
Yeah.
So I'm very motivated, in sort of a lot of my board discussions. My push is that look, layoffs is the easy pill. The harder pill, and I think the right pill
Yeah.
to distribute is investing in creating a better mindset. And I think we'll have to grapple with it not just individually in our
Yeah.
careers,
Yeah.
but as leaders
Yes.
in making some of these tough choices.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I do think AI allows us to unlock a lot more productive unit of work,
Yeah.
but it also allows to unlock the real mindsets of our employees. And I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of companies are really tapping into it and unlocking it.
Yeah, and I think to your point, it's the companies that are willing to invest in their people, bet on their people, and go through this tough time.
Yeah.
They're going to build the stronger trust. When you have an incident, who's going to stay up all night and solve the problem? It's the employees who trust their company, that are always going to do the right thing for them.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more because if you look at the history,
Yep.
whenever we have been dealt with a change, the companies that actually invested, 20 years ago, it was like, how do I invest in the digital quotient of my company? How do I
Yes.
invest in helping them learn and utilize data better?
Yep.
Right? They came out whether 2008, 2001, they came out stronger
Right.
and in fact dominated their verticals, right?
Yes,
So
yeah.
I advise a lot of fellow CEOs with that same mindset
Yeah.
that this is the time to invest. This
Yeah.
is not the time to pull
Yeah.
back. I think it's a fundamental mistake
Yeah.
a lot of companies are making. And
Yeah.
I think also like, look, we are involved in a fundamental reshaping of young people's careers. So it is not just people getting laid off who have been working for tens of years or many years.
Yeah.
We have a lot of youth unemployment also increasing,
Yeah.
right? Because we are finding a lot of academic institutions are really regressing to the idea of how do we just develop better and better skill set versus really doubling down on sort of saying how do we develop a better mindset around learning.
Yep.
And certainly a lot of what we encourage
Yeah.
and what we select for, as I was saying, is around this aptitude and attitude around learning.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Totally. Absolutely. It's pretty amazing. What? Since we have recording, I think it may be helpful for you to share what is InstaLILY to the
Sure.
audience, because they probably like, what is InstaLILY? How did you decide to found it? Did
Yeah.
your previous B2C experience at 1-800-Flowers kind of help you decide?
Sure.
What you could do anything you want.
Right.
What made you decide you want to take that leap of faith and bet on this?
Right. So what InstaLILY does, we build AI teammates for distribution. So we bring AI teammates to the front line of distribution. And most companies have complexity around distribution, whether they are distributing bytes
Yep.
or they are distributing, construction materials, right? So we work in those kinds of verticals, and almost 50% of global GDP is driven by distribution, and it is 90% still manual. So our idea is how do we bring this AI teammates to help the workers in those industries get work done faster, cheaper, and better. So the vision that we look, as I
Yeah.
was explaining, is the idea that the work of tomorrow
Yeah.
is going to look very different. And
Yeah.
in reimagining that work,
Yeah.
we are going to be surrounded by AI teammates. And
Yeah.
we want to be the company that helps you unlock that value of that new way of doing work by employing these agents.
I see.
So we work with some of the most cognitively complex industries, which have a lot of these manual processes, whether parsing out thousands or millions of manuals, understanding extremely deep sort of internal sales processes that lead to sort of, an outcome for their sales team. So how do you accelerate those outcomes? So we develop the essential AI teammates that help you do that more and more
I
as
see.
an outcome. And then, I spent almost 15 years leading some of the most complex industries. And what motivated me to start that was, how do we give back the essential creative unit back to employees? Because instead of being completely drowned by this manual work, repetitive work, most human employees actually want to unlock their creativity. They actually want to unlock better outcomes for their customers. I'll give you a simple example. If you really look at most of what salespeople spend their time on, 70% is actually spent doing data entry into their CRM. It is spent trying to understand signal from noise. It is spent trying to really understand what products are moving, not moving, etc. Whereas what they should really be doing and what
Yeah.
they want to do
Yep.
is to spend almost all of their time talking to their customers,
Right.
helping them grow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, one of our large use cases is around sales acceleration. And we find that whenever we go in with our team of AI agents and surround these salespeople, the first feedback we get is just this enormous appreciation for getting their time back to just go and talk to their customers. Because that signal to noise ratio, which
yeah.
was drowning them,
Right.
is now suddenly working for them versus working against them.
Yeah. So
As an
if
outcome.
I'm a salesperson, I have your team, your AI agent. What does that look? When I wake up in the morning, I
Right.
wake up with the agent. What does the experience look like?
First of all, it's an awesome experience, and let me tell you what the awesomeness is in that, right?
Yeah.
Because this team of AI agents, and the AI agents might include a data agent, might include a CRM agent. So they have gone through your Salesforce dashboards. They've gone through your customer conversations. They've gone through your emails. And literally, when you wake up and walk into the office in the
Yeah.
morning, it tells you here are the 5 customers you need to focus on this morning, and these are the reasons why. And then take it a step further. Let's say one customer needs has an upsell opportunity, and they have really not looked at the purchase order history in
Yep.
the last sort of 3 months.
Yeah.
To bring that to life, it already composes the email for you, so you can just review it and send it. So every part of your value chain,
Yeah.
from working on top of a software to deducing the signal to then acting on the signal, is already brought to the edge by this team of AI agents.
Interesting. Wait, so does the person need to log into like InstaLily website? Like, how do they access the agent? Is it in Slack? Like, what does that look
So
like?
we tend to think that the easiest way
Yeah.
to introduce AI agents and teammates is almost like an employee, human employee, that you really don't require to have another layer of software,
Right.
another layer of
Yeah,
outcomes.
it's embedded.
It's embedded in the software that you are currently using. So for example, if you're using Salesforce or you're using Microsoft Dynamics 365,
Yep.
our agents work within those systems
I see. Got it.
and literally work side by side in your
Yeah.
email, in your internal systems. And certainly some customers of ours,
Yeah.
we help them develop sort of that front end interface as well, because they can easily use our, we call it the agent development kit, to put together those experiences.
Got
So
it.
it is literally giving them the dexterity to put the AI teammate exactly where they would put a human teammate around them.
That's pretty cool. So you basically integrate your agent into any of those existing
Exactly.
applications, whether it's a
Yeah.
Salesforce, SAP, Microsoft. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter where that is.
Yeah, we tend to think about that the less we do rip and replace,
Yeah.
but literally get going on day one, the more work gets done, and more creativity is given back to the human employee.
Got it. Then how do you ingest enough data and context to like say, to superpower the agent? And do you have your own data layer that's processing it?
Yeah, so we utilize a bunch of data connectors, so
Okay.
we tend to think that there are two layers of deep importance to give agency to this AI teammates. The first is sort of the underlying data cloud, your CRM, sort of essential sort
Yeah.
of internal data layer, if
Yep.
you will.
Yep.
But an equally important layer that we train our agents on is what we call tribal knowledge. Because a lot of things are not deeply embedded in the data layer. For example, the SOP,
Yes.
how you go about policy exceptions.
Yeah.
How do you deal with sort of, the edge cases.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we train our agents not just to be aware and to extract out the data layer, but essentially actually be mindful and deeply embed themselves in that tribal knowledge as well. And that tribal knowledge is part extracted from the internal processes, and it's sometimes as simple as the post-it notes around the screen of a CRM analyst, right, which is not captured. And
I
we were
see.
also talking about voice.
Yeah.
So that's the next sort of frontier that we have started introducing with a lot of our customers, where we have an ambient voice recorder
yeah.
that is recording all this context, this rich context
Yep.
for our agents to get started on day one.
Super interesting. Okay, so then when you work at large enterprise, do they have like a dedicated environment? Are you on multi-tenant kind of architecture? Or, because you talked a bit about trust, right? I wouldn't want my data to be mixed with
Yeah.
other enterprises, but then it increases your cost of running things. How do you kind of approach
Do you
it?
think that first of all, I come from a deep enterprise background.
Yeah.
Privacy and security are non-negotiables on
Right.
the table, right?
Yeah.
So we are completely, multi-tenant with extremely strong individual, what we call SLMs driving the small language models, which are particular for each customer.
I see. Got it.
You
Got
know,
it.
so what we essentially do is build the Lego blocks
Yep.
that then we reassemble for
Yeah.
every customer.
Then you
That
fine
we-
tune it with
then we
the
fine tune it with that
enterprise-specific
data.
knowledge. Okay.
So if you think about sort of the essential cognitive apparatus of a human employee, right? Your ability to know English language can be translated across the different employers you work with,
Yeah.
right? So think about that as the essential sort of apparatus that comes out of the box, and
Yeah.
then we fine tune it per each
Right.
customer.
Yep.
And then we keep each model completely resident within that customer's instance, so that there is no leakage
Yep.
across the customers, which I think is a lot of problem that I see with a lot of agentic companies, that they are not really thinking about in an enterprise first manner,
Yes.
because they
Correct.
are being very fast and loose with this data
Yeah.
around it. And
Right.
I think because we got started, both me and my co-founder spent most of our career in enterprise sort of build outs. We were from day zero. Our
Yep.
architecture sort of reflects that mindset.
Yeah, that is absolutely critical, right? Because I think trust is the number one thing. Like your agent, our attack surface is getting bigger with all the agents.
Yes.
Data loss, there's all kinds of risks and implications, especially for like FinServ, more regulated industries as well.
Yeah. And so, distribution, for example, there's deep distributors in insurance and banking,
Right.
which are highly regulated industries.
Yep.
And with some of our work, so we work very closely with private equity shops and
Yep.
sort of their portcos.
Yep.
And one of the things that we think very deeply about in this regulated industry is replicability, reliability, and auditability. Those things have to be non-negotiable.
Yeah.
As much as those are non-negotiable with humans and the human processes, they have to be non-negotiable with
Yep.
agents and agentic processes.
Yeah.
So I think by thinking about those problems
Right.
in those three constructs,
Yeah.
you can actually deliver highly performant outcomes. But it has to be from grounds up, right? It's
Yeah.
not just observability, but that you
Right.
should be able to audit every step
Yes.
that agent took, and it has to be extremely reliable
Right.
in carrying that out, because the consequences in regulated industries are
it's
enormous
huge, right?
around that.
But then there's some the nature of LLMs, it's, non-deterministic.
Sure.
How do you then balance the two? How do you resolve that?
I think by making sure that, as we are talking about the small language models,
Yeah.
like, just because you have stochastic processes, it doesn't mean that you cannot put guardrails around it.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think the level of cognitive margin of error that you provide to an agent should be defined. It shouldn't be an undefined layer. And I
Yep.
think, again, those are architectural choices
Yes.
that you have to make. And I think as the underlying models get smarter, we are going to reach a point where those choices are going to become much more easier. I think right now there's still sort of this idea that the models can hallucinate and can do things,
Yeah.
which is true. But as we are seeing in the underlying models getting smarter,
Yep.
I think we are going to get to a point where we are going to trust them as much as we trust the human employees. This is great.
Fantastic. Well,